This will serve as a journal. Probably not going to do anything with it, but kind of a way to vent my frustrations. Obviously, I am nobody, and the things that I say don't really mean anything. It's not like they're going to impact anything in any way. They're just me getting things off my chest. Things that I would like to get off my chest. First of all, it is a very, very dangerous world. We are living in some incredibly crazy times. We have North Korea. We have instability in our government, i.e. the desire to impeach President Trump before he became president was prevalent in the Democratic Party. Now, impeaching a president for winning an election is absurd. That's not, to me, really it bothers me. Now, if you want to talk about impeaching President Trump for collusion, then we're talking about something completely different. Then I think that we could have a reasonable discussion, and that's what I'm all about. That's what I like to do. I like reason, I like discussion, and I like opening my eyes to new views that I never before had. At this moment, I'm under the impression, it being the 24th of July 2017 at 4:49, there is no evidence of collusion on Trump's part, to my understanding. There's evidence of attempted collusion on Don Jr.'s part. There's there was media outlets claiming that there was a lot of smoke before. I didn't really see that. I just thought it was a lot of noise being made. Now I would say that there is smoke, and the smoke is something that is worth looking into. I don't really have a whole lot of respect for the idea that President Trump is Darth Vader, that he is, the mastermind of all these evil things going on. I don't think Obama was, although I think that Obama was more in charge of working secret agendas than President Trump is capable of doing from a political standpoint. And when I mean secret agendas, I don't mean to say conspiracy theories. I don't mean to hint at that at all. What I do mean is that Obama was capable of doing things without the public knowing that that was his desire, and I think that he's more capable of doing that than President Trump. And I don't think that's a bad quality. I don't think it's a good quality. I think that it's a quality that I would like to have myself. But, obviously qualities don't really dictate whether a person is good or bad. Their actions do, and their desires do. We'll just say desires. Another thing that has really bothered me, Canada has talked about, in Ontario there's this law going on. I don't know too much about it, but the gist of it sounds like, if a parent does not recognize the gender identity that their child identifies with, then the government has the legal option to take away the child from the parent. And I think that's silly. I think that's actually not silly. I think that's incredibly scary, that a parent cannot tell a child what the parent believes to be true without the government taking away the child. Let alone, the debate of transgenderism, LGBTQ, whatever. Regardless of that debate, the ability a government can have to take away a child from a parent because the parent told the child how the parent recognizes the world to be, that is very scary. That's something that I don't advocate in almost any situation. But for the sake of principle, I'll say for any situation I don't advocate that. it's silly to me to think that regardless of the definition of gender, which I believe the definition of gender, and I'll just give you my own belief, just because whatever I can. My understanding of gender is that gender is a social construct, kind of like civilization's study of gender, or of sex. And what I mean by that is you have male and female sexes, and then you have intersex, which is, a real thing, but very rare. Male and female, generally speaking, we'll be general for this sake of point. Generally speaking, male, female, and society's understanding of the normal behavior of male falls into the gender of male, and society's understanding of the normal behavior of female falls under the sex of female. So it is my understanding that gender is based upon sex, but gender is a social construct. What gender is it's the understanding of the normal behavior of those who belong to the male and female sexes. Now, with that understanding, my logic would be that if somebody claims to be if a male sex individual claims to be female gender, then they influence the male gender to create a normality of male sexes claiming that they are female genders, and that doesn't influence the female gender. That actually influences the male gender, and that becomes part of the great social experiment, the great social study of society when it comes to sex, is that now it is normal for male sex individuals to claim that they have a different gender than they actually do, and that falls under the male gender category of understanding, which is slightly ironic, I think, and a little bit humorous to think that claiming that you're a different gender actually helps to shape the study of gender that is assigned to you by your sex. Anyways, what I was going to say is that so it's my understanding that sex is based off of gender in that way. It is a social construct, or excuse me, that gender is based off of sex in that way. It is a social construct, but not in a way that can be transmutable or transferable. So it comes down to science. Now, the left likes to claim that the right is the party of anti-science, and perhaps maybe at one point that was true. I don't like generalistic name-calling like that. I think that that's a very primitive form of debate. But what I would say is that it's silly to me to think that the right is the party that denies science when you have science talking about, for example, sex, and how sex is, assigned by scientific studies of chromosomes. That's a little ironic to me. What I also consider a little bit ironic is the left. And I don't say liberals because I don't think the left is liberals. They might say that they're liberals, but they don't fall under the definition of what a liberal is, to my understanding. But what I would say is that the left also claims abortion is a right of that a fetus is part of a woman's body, and that a woman has, the right to do whatever she wants to her body. And that's generally speaking a left idea. That's not something promoted on the right, like, at all. It's a little bit silly to think that the right is not the party of science when you have people on the left promoting this idea that a fetus is not a, an individual, that it's not an individual organism, when science says that it is a different organism, that it is alive by the definition of science, even though it hasn't breathed oxygen into its lungs from the atmosphere around it. It still is separated from the mother. If it were not separated from the mother, would be rejected as a foreign body and would be either eaten or, well, it would be either cannibalized or ejected by the female body if the fetus was not separate from the womb, if it was not separated from the woman through the umbilical cord, and other, organic processes that we won't get into. But needless to say, a fetus is alive by all definitions of science, and to murder a human being should never be advocated for. It is appalling. It's disgusting, and I'm not a fan of it. What I am a fan of is discussion, and this is something that I would be willing to talk with anybody about, where we could have a civilized discussion about talking about what is life, is it ever okay to end a life, and what circumstances that might be. Now, I would advocate that it is, sometimes okay to end a life, and I will give you an example, and that example would probably be something like self-defense, defense of family. For example, if somebody is going to rape and murder your wife, I think that you have the right to end their life at that time. And so that would be, the debate of abortion would be somewhere in that little arena, and that would be something I would be willing to debate with somebody about. Again, I'm not the authority on what is right and what is wrong. I just have opinions, and my opinions mean literally nothing because I'm nobody. So I just would like to, voice them for my own benefit. Yes, I think it's a really messed up world. I think it's a little bit scary at what's going on, and I also had another thing I wanted to talk about. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Christians. Christians, full disclosure, I'm also Christian. I'm a Christian. But I was going to give a little bit of a negative feedback towards Christians. Hopefully it's constructive. I know it won't be, but I hope that there's, a way for me to convince at least one person, one Christian, or one, agnostic, not to think this way, but this recording is probably not going to cause that. What would cause that is me, talking with friends in a civilized way. But my opinion of Christianity as a whole is that there's many people out there who claim to be Christian who do not promote Christian attitudes, and those attitudes are found in the Beatitudes given in the Sermon on the Mount by Jesus Christ, who Christians owe their namesake to. Now, what I mean, I don't think that they promote Christian, principles, is that you'll find a lot of people condemning other people to hell and viciously attacking other people for not being Christian or whatever, for having different ideas. I think that that's silly. I think that that's ridiculous. I think if you're Christian, I think you should promote the last commandment given to men by Jesus Christ before he ascended into heaven, and he said, "As I have loved you, love one another. By this shall men know ye are my disciples, if ye have love one towards another." If you do not have that love of Christ towards other people, nobody will recognize you as a disciple of Jesus Christ. And in fact, you will not be a disciple of Jesus Christ if you do not promote the love of Christ. It's very basic. It's very simple. Just make sure that you love the people. Make sure that you represent the actual individual that you claim to represent. And I think that's all that I wanted to get off of my chest today. It feels really good. It was a good day for me.